tough ball game against a very good club. Things didn't go our way early. I was proud of the way they persevered, kept pushing. Needed something to, ignite us, and quite a few guys did that. And I was really proud of them because, it's like I told them, I didn't see anybody shying away. Guys that had made an error, they were right back on that horse, and that's what winners do. Questions?
We'll start with Corey.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 home runs you hit in the 6th inning were both on 0-2 pitches. I guess just probably not the pitches that pitcher wanted to make, but the approach that both Logan and Elijah had there to stay on it and take good swings with an 0-2 count.
Yeah, you've got to be ready. There's a lot of that happening these days in baseball. They're trying to save pitch counts and feel like they got you on the ropes, and the batting averages are crazy low with, an 0-2 count and 1-2 count. But both guys were ready and didn't let it sneak past. And bear with me, guys. I woke up with a head cold, and so did some of our players. So if I start getting a coughing attack, bear with.
Arya.
Hey, Mead, hope you feel better first off. But second off, to have the way Parker kind of hung in there for you, 2-0. I know that's kind of been who he has been all season long, but to have that kid on the mound and kind of just lead the charge, what was that like to watch?
Well, he's the epitome of everything that you want in a student athlete, and the competitiveness, things not going his way. They got some, balls off the end of the bat, a couple of jam shots. And we made a few errors, and what does he do? Give us 6 and keeps us in the ball game and gives us a chance. And he's a throwback. And that's a good thing.
Brett. It seemed like in the second time through the order that you guys are putting some good swings together. Did you just feel like it was sort of a matter of time for the ball to start dropping or going over the fence for you guys?
Yeah, you got a guy that's got, Stanley's got a lot of ride to the fastball, and you got to really fight to stay on top of it. And, it takes some time, and you just can't throw in the towel and after 3-4 innings and say we're done. And, we need something to ignite us. And obviously we got that, and we played good defense the rest of the way. And like I told him, that was exactly the type of game that we needed, because there's going to be other situations you run into where things aren't going your way. You got to keep pushing.
Aslan.
I know you were scratching and clawing throughout the game to always get an opportunity, but when Tyler's ball falls in the outfield and they drop it, did you feel like that was a moment that you would be able to capitalize on, and how fulfilling was it to see some runs come across in that moment?
Anytime our 2 through 5 are coming up with a runner on base, that is, heartwarming, if you will. We feel like we're going to get production. Greeny had some good swings. Dill had some good swings. We're just going to, keep doing our thing. It may not look pretty, but we've got a bunch of winners.
Kurt.
Parker's probably been waiting 2 years for this moment of getting to kind of throw in a regional like this, not get to do it last year. I mean, just what is it about? How do you kind of put into words? It seems like time and time again, when the pressure is on, be it a high pressure, high leverage situation, something like that, it seems like that's when he shines his brightest.
Yeah, he does. And all these guys, it's mentally taking a toll on them for having something you've done all your life taken away from you. And, getting that drive back and that work ethic and all the stuff that's necessary to, to have a successful season. And, they've done it. They've bought in, and, again, it hasn't always been clean and pretty, but we're still around. And I'll go to, battle with them anytime. It's a special group.
Back to Brett.
You touched on Jackson a little bit, but it seems like every time you put the ball in play today, it was hard hit. Just how important is it to get those quality at bats from that 9 hole and setting up the top of your order?
Yeah, it starts putting pitches in his arm, and there was a couple ABs that we didn't get anything to show for it, but Nico had one, and stuff like that goes a long way, and it gives you, when guys are from the windup, they're different for the most part. They have better velocities from the wind up, and their stuff's better because they do it more often than they do from the set. So anytime you can get the guy in the set, you got to like your chances. Walks and hit by pitches and little things, they all factor in and help you.
Arya.
And you got a couple of good options available for tomorrow night with Bryce and with Connor. Any idea who you guys might toss out there tomorrow night?
And we got to take a look at it. We're one game at a time, and see what gives us the best chance. We feel like gives us the best chance. The guys know it. It's next man up. It's nothing personal. It's just what we feel like gives us the best chance to win. So it'll be one of those two, but we haven't decided yet.
Back to Aslan.
Meet that one guy with 2,029 career wins was in the stands. Is that the first time he's seen you as the head coach of Florida State? And just how fulfilling is it to get that win in front of him? And you also have a better winning percentage now in the postseason than your old man. Congrats.
Yeah. He don't trust me. He doesn't come to watch me coach. He comes to watch his boys that, he's got a lot of love for, and his grandson. And, Meemaw would leave him if he didn't. So I don't think he really has a choice, but it's always good to have him around. Guys enjoy seeing him, and it's good for him as well. But he is, on the second guest team these days. So he said something the other night that was pretty funny. He's like, yeah, I always wondered why there were so many of them and how they were, constantly second guessing. He's like, I realize it now. It's fun. So I get to hear that.
We'll go back to Kurt.
It started with Parker and the jams he was able to give, and the bullpen obviously escaped some jams too. I think in 6 of the last 8 innings, they had a runner in scoring position. They didn't score in any of those. You've been here so many times as an assistant coach. Just how important is, that intangible clutch pitching this time of year?
It's them buying in and, committing to the pitch, finish the pitch, but it's also the faith that they have in Jimmy and the pitch calling that he does. He's really good at it. And, there were some pitches that worked out that kind of set the tone, and then you go flip the lineup again and you do something a little bit different. It can be a shock to the system, and that's what you're trying to do is make them uncomfortable. Those hitters.
We've got time for 2 more questions. We will go back to Corey.
Yeah, you probably didn't see it, but on the ball that the right fielder dropped, the Southern Miss pitcher was not real happy with the right fielder. Kind of screamed at him a few times. Some things similarly happened to your pitchers. Parker had a couple errors on him in the first inning. Jack, even in the 9th inning, that's a ball that Tyler probably should catch. What does it say, I guess, about them? You don't have to talk about the Southern Miss kid, not to scream down their teammates, but go right back and pitch well and forget about it and shrug it off and just make pitches.
And you'll hear them yelling, pick me up, whether it's pitchers on the bench, whether it's guys out in the field. It's a genuine, they enjoy each other. They enjoy being around each other. And, that genuine love goes a long way. And I can promise you'll never see our guys. They'll bark at each other if they feel like there's a lack of effort, that's for sure, but not something along those lines.
Brett?
Obviously, Elijah's had some pretty far home runs this year, but for him to be able to sort of one-hand that ball over the fence, I guess just, how impressive is that? And how much of that is also the approach of being on the fastball and he's fooled, but he's still be able to do some damage with that pitch?
Yeah, he's when that swing plane's right, which obviously it was, he got fooled and he kept the barrel in the zone, and he's so strong that he doesn't need but one arm to hit the ball out. And, if he was looking for something different, then the swing wouldn't have looked like that. So I was proud of him for that, because he's got to be looking number one there and adjust to off speed.